doing this. I know you have a very busy schedule, and I was going through your LinkedIn profile, so there are a lot of questions from there. But
Sure.
knowing that you are the Chief Digital Officer of a startup, I can completely imagine how crazy it can be. So once again, thank you for taking out time and meeting us. Just to give
It's
some
a pleasure,
background.
Parvasi. Yeah.
Thank you. Just to give some background about Satish, and of course, I'll let you add to it. I saw that you started working in 90s, and since then you have worked with some major names. If I'm not wrong, and if I recall it correctly, you have worked with Reliance, you have worked with Vodafone, you have worked with Nokia, and also with Meta. And from all those very large firms in leadership positions. Now you are leading a startup. You are a founder and chief digital officer at ChargeUp. And the other big change that I know because of our personal and previous conversation is that you are, I think, one of the very few who moved from Mumbai to Delhi NCR and is still
Yes.
happy about it. So
Yes.
I'll let you add to it.
Yes.
Anything that I missed out.
No, the great, Parvasi. First of all, again, great meeting you. And I truly believe, I think we always meet with a purpose. Okay. We started doing DBA together somewhere, and today we are on a podcast. So there is something already written. So that's perfect. I hope I don't get intimidated by all the degrees behind you. So I will try to stay cool and calm. Yes, very very happy to be here. And coming to Mumbai to Delhi, yes, the good part is I have moved so much that now it looks like second nature to me. Right? Honestly, I believe like moving from Sangrur to Singapore, Mumbai to Melbourne, and Chandigarh to California, I think it had been quite a tour for me. So Mumbai to Delhi is easy for that perspective. Yes.
Perfect. And because you spoke about the degrees behind me,
Yeah.
something that I missed out on, for all the contributions that you have done over the years, you have been awarded with an honorary doctorate as well. So let's not miss out on
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
probably I should be more intimidated by you. But lovely to hear your journey, and we will dive deeper into it. I'll start with something which I think a lot of us have been talking about on LinkedIn, but a very few of us may have actually experienced it. I think you would have seen, and given that you have always been in the technology space, you would have seen that evolution from 90s to today, how much the world has changed. So if you could just talk about how work life has changed from your perspective.
So, Prabhuji, let me take a crack on it differently, right? As you rightly said, kind of started working somewhere in 90s, and then I have seen three revolutions in this country or in this society, right? More, I will talk about more tech revolutions, right? Somewhere in 90s, something happened in India, which was mobility, right? Before that, India was a landline country. We used to wait for 2 years to get a landline phone at home, right? The lineman was the biggest, darling in the neighborhood, whereby you have to really please him to make sure your phone continues to work. From there, we have moved to a place where you can walk into a maybe a geo store and get your SIM activated within 30 minutes. So that was the first revolution, and I was very happy to say that I jumped onto that revolution. Even before mobility, it was paging. So the pager was the first mobile where you could move away from your home and still can be connected to some extent. So that was my first jump into that world, and then mobility happens, and that was a great ride. And that's where I got into Punjab Wireless in Reliance and so forth and so on. Next one was the digital transformation or revolution. Right, we used to do certain things in certain manner before 2000, and then the digital started happening in this country where we started moving towards emails. Or gone are the days when you used to have postcards and the post offices as the darling of the people. The money order was something which was big at that time. Today we transfer the money through mobile phone. So that was the digital transformation, and that's when kind of Vodafone happened to me, and enterprise business and those things, including Nokia. So that was my ride on digital. And the third one was the social media. When people became so hyper connected that it was difficult to live without a phone, and almost the phone became the central theme of your existence, and that was social media, and that was my jump towards, let's say, Facebook. So three revolutions was that way great, and I'm very privileged and happy to say that I was part of all three in some form or the other. So yes, that was lovely to see the technology moving, and with that the society and the me myself moving. Yes.
The way you explained it took me down memory lane because I remember there was a time when our entire apartment complex had a few phones, and some relative would call a neighbor, and the
Yeah.
neighbor would come and call you, and you would go and
Yes.
take the call
Yes.
on their landline.
Absolutely.
From
Yeah.
there, we have come to a point wherein each one of us is carrying a phone in our pocket. Some of us are
Correct.
doing two at a time.
Two
So
of them. Absolutely. Yeah.
awesome. One other thing that Satish, a lot of talk has been around is the change in attitude of the workforce, right? Different generations coming in. And not only have you seen different generations, but most likely today you are heading a startup, so you would be working with people from different generations. So first, what difference do you see from people who were there in 90s workforce versus today's? And then we will come to how you are managing them today.
So I think there is always a time, right? So we grew up in a society where we were not used to a lot of comforts. There were very little, right? Being in a village was something which is very normal. The cities were also not as developed as it is today, right? And hence, if I speak on me, my confidence growing up was very low. uh, it was like stage fear was there. If somebody asks you to speak, hey, you will flutter a few times, right? There was a sweat on the board that, hey, can I really speak? To the extent that I, being in small village from Haryana, it was difficult to even speak Hindi. So Haryanavi used to come even in a Hindi sentence, right? English is far, far away. Versus if I see this young generation, I'm so proud of them. They are full of confidence, really not fearful of taking risk,
Hmm.
right? So in our days, perhaps it was we only knew, hey, you can go to engineering, you can go to do the medicines or doctor. There was nothing else told or known, right? And few of us perhaps started going towards civil services. So these were the only two three things known. But today, I think these people have a lot of choices, and they take risk. So I love this generation, which is really so confident of themselves. And hence, coming to your point in a workplace, I honestly feel it's a great mix to have experienced people and the youngsters together. The challenge is obviously how do you manage both, but it is the best cocktail one can really aim for.
It's interesting you spoke about the fact that how the thought process has changed from you just had either medical or engineering to choose. If you specifically, if you gave 10th standard boards back then, they
Yeah.
were very important in your milestone in your life.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
taking engineering, that is mechanical drawing, or are you taking
Yeah.
biology in
Yes.
11th? To
Yes.
a point wherein the entire world has opened up. So true. And we hear a lot about the fact that people have today's generation is able to express themselves a lot more, and you have provided a very different perspective to it, that probably the workforce of 90s as well as the early 2000s, we didn't have enough confidence in saying out loud what we were thinking. It
Yeah.
could be multiple factors, the way we grew up, the constraints that we were living in,
Yes.
versus today's generation, which is more courageous, if I can use that word. They are confident in speaking out loud
Yes.
what they are thinking. So if they
Yes.
don't agree with their leaders, they don't hesitate to say it out loud.
Absolutely. And not only that, in majority of the companies now, the leaders are also getting accustomed to this. That it's okay if somebody sitting there is asking a question. It's not seen as a he's questioning your authority. All right. So once that settles in, I think this works beautifully well in the organizations too.
You spoke about something which is related to mindset, right? A leader's mindset that the person is not questioning me or my authority. They are
Yeah.
essentially providing an alternative point of view. How do specifically when someone has been working in a certain setup, how can they proactively bring this thought process or mindset change in themselves?
It's like, Rosie, one is acceptance that yes, this young generation is supposed to ask questions and that is not bad, first of all. So the mindset change itself. Second is when you actually see things happening around you, your own thought process changes, right? If I give my example, when I joined in Meta, it was such a pleasure change to see Mark Zuckerberg coming on call and anybody and everybody can ask questions. And
Hmm.
he was like as cool as one can be, right? I have seen in Vodafone, the global CEO travels to India and there is an open town hall and people can ask any questions from Hollywood to Bollywood to personal to what you think of Vodafone and etc etc. So it was, I think, once you see it and you start appreciating it and you start adopting it. So I
Perfect.
think it's a change. Yeah.
And just talking about or extending the experience or the journey that you spoke about. So from the Metas and the Reliances and the Vodafones of the world, you decided to get into a startup, and the startup is into EVs. But more importantly, I would like to understand why a startup with someone with so much experience and knowledge. You can I can imagine you can easily be an advisor on any of the larger firms, right? But I think you intentionally chose a startup. So what was the thought process behind that?
So one, Parvati, as I talked about, let's say the three transformations which I was lucky to see and ride on. So obviously the fourth transformation was around electric vehicles. So I thought if I have to ride one more transformation, right, before I hang my boots, then perhaps EV is one of them. So that was one click, right? Second, obviously, was that instead of being just an advisor, can you still do things and make it happen yourself? So there is a big difference between advising somebody versus doing it yourself,
Yep.
right? So it's like if you have to go to heaven, you have to die first. So I kind of decided, okay, let's take that plunge, and I'm so glad I took that actually. Yeah.
That can be a very scary example of transformation, that if you have to go to heaven, then you have to die first. But
Yes.
I completely see where you're coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
And and the other part that I wanted to ask you was, how did you make this transition? Because when you work with large organizations, it comes with an ecosystem, and you can rely on the ecosystem quite a lot. Startups, you are the ecosystem. You are building
Yes.
everything from scratch. So how did
Yes.
you manage this? What kind of mindset shifts did you need?
Honestly, I have gone through my own emotional churn, right? Just like you and me are talking, I did talk to many of my mentors, right? You always find mentors, and they need not to be like elders than you. I mean, the mentors where you can trust each other, right? So, friends like you. So, sit down with them and perhaps ask these difficult questions, right? So one of the best advice I got from my mentor was that if you are taking this journey of a startup, right, watch the journey. There will be instances where your mind will say why the hell you have done it, right?
Yep,
And you will get maybe offers to get back to corporate life or so-called advisory life. The day you will say no to that and stay on your course, you will be in a startup. So I
that's
think that was the
profound.
best advice, and I faced it few times that hey, okay, what do I need to do? Yes, so it was quite a journey. It is quite an emotional churn. Yeah.
That's profound. And one of the, because we are talking about what friends, peers, mentors have shared. Earlier this year, when I started this journey, one of the best advices that I got, or a heads up that I got, was all these years, your introduction came co-branded introductions, right? You were
Yes.
always XYZ of
Yes.
XYZ, and now nobody knows your co-brand. You are
Yes.
who you are. That's it. Which was a good one for me, because you don't realize how important, or how critical it is in terms of your introductions.
Yeah.
An extension of what you said, if you could look back and talk about probably what could be the biggest challenge that someone would face when they move into or move from large corporate setups to startups, something that can tip them over. You said it very well, that there will be a lot of times when you will say, why the hell am I doing it?
Yes.
And I can see that you decided to stay on the startup side, but what are things which got you to the fence and said that, okay, this is enough, I can't take it anymore?
So one is the emotional journey itself, right? Those emotional moments, right? As you said, when you are in a corporate job, it is the designation or it's the chair which you carry with you, right? So you have to accept that that chair does not exist anymore. That designation is not which you carry. It is you who you are carrying, right? So that emotional journey of now people will see you as a person, not really as a chair. That can be very traumatic for many of us, right? Including, it can be as simple things like, let's say if you are in a big corporate job, you get a ticket booked by your secretary. There is a taxi waiting for you at the airport, all right? And here you are doing everything of your own, right? So do you see that as, hey, this is normal, or versus what the hell it's happening? Why am I traveling in a taxi where I have to really wait and book my own taxi? So you have to have that mental shift that no, it is your choice, right? Once it is your choice, then you have no excuse to give. So that is on the emotional side. On work side, yes, I think it's very different jumping into a running train versus you are trying to make and push the train yourself. It's hard, it's sweaty. Uh, Perhaps there is nobody with you, राइट इट्स लाइक अमिताभ बच्चन का दैट डायलॉग दैट जहां हम खड़े होते हैं वही लाइन बन जाती है इट्स लाइक इन अ कारपोरेट जॉब योर चेयर एंड देन देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल अराउंड यू and here perhaps there is, forget about line, there are no people around you, so you have to create your own line. So that's quite a mental shift, I would say. Yeah.
And I think one of the things I hear very often is, you are literally doing everything under the sun. You don't have the, okay, this is my role and I'll stick to it. Anything
Correct.
that comes on your table, you have to do it.
Absolutely, you have to get the shit done, I think, as period as that, or including you have to do it.
Yeah. Which brings me to the next question, because last, when we were talking about your current journey of startups, you spoke about the fact that now you are at a point wherein you are also looking at grooming your next line so that they can take up some additional responsibilities. So, what does that look like in a startup? How do you identify who are the people? Because my understanding is startup is a very different ecosystem. And the second is, you don't have enough resources to build your next line, right? Unlike large corporates. So, how do you manage something like that?
So one, I think, at least me and my co-founder Varun Goyanka, he finds a mention in this. We look for that fire in the belly more than so-called degree or qualification, right? Because once you have the passion to really do what comes your way, you can really get through, right? In fact, I have many people in the team who started as something else and today they are something else. So they did many different roles. So that is one whereby the passion counts more than perhaps the education and the degree. Second is perhaps you have to unlearn first, then learning, right? It's like if you remember during college days, perhaps I read trigonometries and Pythagoras theorems and all that. How many of that I really used it in life? I don't know. Right? Same thing here. All those principles of corporate learning, lot of them are applicable, but many of them are not applicable in a startup. Right? So you have to really unlearn first and then start. So that is the second thing we look for in the leadership team. That are you really ready to change? What you have done in previous life was fantastic, but this life is different.
Yep.
Right? So that is second. And third, I take a lot of pride that we really bet on many interns. We pick up people from college, raw, unfiltered, no baggage, no bias, ready to learn AI, ready to learn tech, ready to learn maybe customer service, ready. So completely flexible, and that makes the fun of it. Honestly, it's difficult journey, but at the same time, very fulfilling journey. Even to develop the leadership further.
Perfect. And one of the points you spoke about was unlearn and relearn the new ways of doing things. And I completely agree because I'm going through that journey on my own. But if you could talk about any one example, either you have experienced or you have observed,
Hmm.
where that unlearning was needed and how that actually transformed the actual person in reality.
So I think I'm not like to name the person, but yes, there are many examples where you have to pull up your sleeves and show that it can be done, right? Because initially you will face those that it can't be done, it's not possible, right? It's like वो then you have to become that Shahrukh Khan, that हम शरीफ क्या हुए सारी दुनिया ही बदमाश हो गई. So it's like you have to show, bhai, I know it can be done, right? And if you are not convinced, let me do it, right? So that is where I think the unlearning for the other person also starts. Yes, it can be done, right? You show it once, you show it twice, and then people once start believing it. They start then carrying the baton on. So
Mm,
that is one part of the unlearning where I have seen really big transformations happening in people and in the departments. And
awesome.
second one, Parvasi, is about the leadership again in the second layer. Uh, we even created programs which are situational leadership programs. It need not to be designation based,
Okay.
right? It means an intern can take a situational leadership to solve a cross functional project, and people in that cross functional team, task team, reports to him. So it really does not matter now, the designations are broken automatically, right?
Mm,
And that is where the unlearning starts happening even for those people who are in the team. There are examples where a youngster comes and say, "I done this through AI, and look at this. This can be done in 5 minutes. Otherwise, it could have taken maybe 2 days. Maybe it's not as perfect as we would have thought, but at least it's there,
yeah.
right?" So yes, it's learning on the go.
The last example specifically is so powerful. In fact, the other day I was discussing it with someone.
Mm.
The ability of a leader to let the team do something, knowing that there is a risk of failure, but
Yeah.
very often the team surprises the leader with something which even the leader may not have thought of. They come up with better answers or faster responses than you may have thought of.
Yes.
A personal example from the journey of unlearning and relearning, which I had for my with my first startup, was in large organizations. You are always thinking about scale, right? And that's the reason intuitively I think leaders rely a lot on building a process and a system so
Yeah.
that the scale up is easy. And in startups you realize that getting the thing done is way more important than laying down the process.
That's correct.
That's a hard lesson that I learned, because by default I would go towards let's create a process, and then I
Yes.
realized that okay, getting the job done is way more important than thinking about the other piece. And the other one
Absolutely.
is the risk taking ability of startups being so high. So one of the best lessons that I learned from a leader in a startup that I was working was, uh, we are okay if you fail. Don't worry about failing because we can learn lessons and move forward. The challenge is if nothing happens for a very long time
That's
because you're
correct.
thinking to avoid risk,
That's correct.
which again, both those things, deviating and not thinking about process and doing things first, and not thinking too much about risks, is something that was ingrained in me, and I have to,
Yes.
so I had to unlearn those things, and I'm hopefully getting to a better place, but definitely something that is a difference.
No, no,
Um,
absolutely. Just one more anecdote or example on that, Parvasi. This happens as you said. Maybe sometimes you feel that I can do it better than the team, right? That's always a feeling that a leader will do it better than the team, and as they start doing everything themselves, right? So, in fact, we started something called "Bade Miyan to Bade Miyan, Chote Miyan Suhan Allah." So, why a task can't be done by the Chote Miyan? Let him do it now,
yeah.
right? Let him come back in his own way and perhaps show that, hey, this is how it can be done, better than perhaps what we all thought of. All right, so it is really worked well, and it brought a lot of energy, yeah, in the team.
What I love about this conversation, Satish, is that even though you have been in such big, large organizations, leadership positions, and you may have heard about a lot of jargon, but you are relying a lot on language that common people, uh, today's generation probably would relate to. For example, the line from Amitabh Bachchan's movie that okay, hum ja khade hote line mein se,
Yeah.
or for that matter, bade miyan, to bade miyan. Is this something which was always with you, or is this something which is one of the transitions that you brought in since you moved to startups?
Not since I moved to startup, but yeah, around 15 years back, yes, during when I started interacting with many multinational cultures and the ethos, because we as Indians sometimes can be very very tied to a particular way of looking at it. First time when I landed up in Singapore, here I was. There are Indians who speak certain amount of English. There are Australians who speak at 3x the speed than what we speak. There are Koreans and Chinese who speak at one-fifth the speed at what we speak. So how do you manage a team meeting where you have Australians and Koreans and Chinese and Indians and all of them coming together? I think that's where the adaptability for me personally started happening the maximum. And that's where I started to learn these small things which people can relate to. Right? Using Bollywood examples, I read quite a lot around Kabir and Rahim and those dohas where how do you really summarize, let's say, the way Rahim and Kabir summarize the entire life into a couplet, right? I think that is just brilliant, right? So I thought, why don't we pick up that style? So that's where it comes from. Yeah,
That's so interesting. And I would ask you if you
yeah,
can remember any couplet to share. But before jumping into that, one of the things that you spoke about, which is multicultural teams, right? People from different geographies,
yeah.
different backgrounds, and how leaders can manage. Often, leaders tend to default to their preferred style versus what you spoke about is understand your audience and accordingly adapt. The question that I have is a slightly different one, which is a lot of tech leaders struggle to manage people. I know a lot of technology folks who literally don't want to manage people because technology is easier.
Yes.
You seem to be a technology person who is extremely comfortable managing people and adapting to the situation. Where did you pick this? But more importantly, what advice would you give to technology leaders of today?
I think great question. And somewhere during my journey in Vodafone, I took a concerted effort to move from hardcore technologist to what we call business technologist. It means somebody who can speak the business language, understanding the underlying technology. Because that was a big gap, and even today it exists in many organizations. The tech team may be using all the jargons which are technical in nature, that's what they are supposed to do, and the business team don't even relate to those jargons.
Yeah.
And that is was the journey when I started moving towards, can we make language which the audience can understand. And in fact, that's precisely what we are doing in our space. I'm using a lot of AI ML, but I am dealing with a customer who is a driver who doesn't even understand English. So forget about AI ML. So how do you convert AI ML to something which he can relate to? And
Hmm.
that is the whole journey which we continue to have a lot of debates and interesting discussions around in the office today. Yeah.
And if I can ask you a question, which is probably 180 degrees opposite, a lot of people managers who don't come from technology background today have that large fear cloud of AI hanging over their heads. You constantly hear the statement that you will not be replaced by AI, you will be replaced by someone who uses AI. You
Yeah.
just now spoke that you use a lot of AI ML, so probably you are going to replace a lot of those people. But jokes apart, how can someone who is not a technologist, is in a leadership position, adapt to this AI revolution, evolution, however you may want to put it?
In fact, in my opinion, AI is making it even more easier. Right. Let me give an example of yesteryears. Let's say when we started introducing SMS and text messages, right? It was still not adopted by the people who can't write, who can't type, right? If I go to my mother, she can't write a message, as simple as that, right? But as soon as there was voice note introduced,
Yeah.
then you can speak in your language and just press the button, the language, and the message goes, right? As soon as the video phones came in, whereby you and me are talking right now, so it does not matter which language it is. You are speaking in your natural language, I'm speaking in my natural language, and hence the communication is so strong, right? So it really broken the barriers of the digital literacy at that time when video came and when voice notes came. Same thing AI is doing. It does not matter. Do you really need to have coding knowledge? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
Right? Do you need to be a deep tech expert? Actually not. Right? And today in my organization, it is very interesting to say that I proudly say my founder, right? He is a business guy. He does not understand T of tech, but he is the biggest expert on AI
Wow.
because it's easy to understand. Then you go on playing with it. You continue to do the experiments, and he comes and tells others, "Hey, look at this. This is the video I created, which I asked you to do 3 days back, and here it is." So this is it. In my opinion, AI will break those digital barriers further now.
One of the pieces, and I think you and I can relate to it because of the years that we have seen in the industry. Um, AI sounds like becoming the new Microsoft Office of a working professional, that it will not be an added advantage. It's the bare minimum that you need to know. And the reason I say so is back in 2000, when I was doing my post graduation, we had to submit a
Yes.
thesis at the end of post graduation.
Yeah.
And I was in Delhi University North Campus, and there used to be a shop where people, all of us used to stand, and there used to be one person with a computer typing out what we were telling them, because none of us knew how to use computers. When I think about that, it's so funny because I was a chemistry student. So to tell them that, okay, the two needs to come at the bottom, not adjacent to the word, it used to take us a lot of time. And look where we are. Everyone's today using MS Office. And I think, as you said, AI probably will make things even easier going forward. Awesome. There are a couple of other questions that I want to focus on. One is on the generational and the cultural aspect of it. You spoke about the fact that you have handled or managed teams across geographies. This is a lot to do with leaders within India. A lot of leaders in India grow up in a certain ecosystem, and as you said, when you worked in Meta, you had leaders such as Zuckerberg coming on call and being extremely cool. It's not necessary that everyone has to do that, but To manage a cross-cultural team, what are some things that as a leader you think are really important?
I can only speak from my own experience, Pavasi. I don't think there is any silver bullet to leadership development, right? I think every organizations do it in their own manner. But there are few common traits if I relate to whatever I have seen, right? One, if you give them more responsibility, right, challenge them rightly, right, then you are able to really see the best coming out of them. So instead of forcing onto them,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like example can be, if you break an egg from outside, a life is lost.
Yep.
But the egg is when egg is broken from inside, a new life is born.
Wow.
It is the same life. It is the same egg. Right. So if you can create that passion in the person that he can do it and you are with him, I think that is a transformation the leaders should bring in. And sometimes cross functional, it becomes even more important because you don't understand each other's language, right? So you would have to understand perhaps beyond language, the body language of the people, which is equally important. So I think that is one common factor I have seen if leadership can adopt. I had been one of those cursive leaders in my early days. Very few people today relate to it that, hey, were you so nasty? I was, all right. But yes, realize with time that perhaps that is not required.
Mm.
That's really not required, right? You need to be. So that is one, which is like, can you really bring the best out of the people? Number two is give them some margin of error. Uh, there will be some mistakes, right? Instead of shooting them, right? Give them the comfort that making mistake is okay, so long it's not fatal, right?
Yep.
It's like you do it with your child, right? So long you are making him or her learn cycling, and he or she falls, it's okay, right? That is how you learn, right? So long you are not ramping it to a running bus, right? So you are not making it fatal.
Mm.
Otherwise, it's okay. So if you can give that comfort to the leadership team or next leadership team that it's okay to make mistakes. And third, to the leader itself, in my opinion, and I learned it in one of the latest seminar, that it is okay not to be okay all the time, right? And that's a realization not every leader really accepts, right? It's
Yep.
hard. Founders become even more stubborn sometimes. Hey, it's my company, I know what to do, right? So don't give me any GAN type, right?
Yep.
So it's okay not to be okay. So if the leader can really accept that a bit, himself or herself, I think the transformation starts happening within in the leader also. So these are the three things which I carry with me, and I try to apply it in my workplace as well.
First of all, your egg analogy, awesome. I am probably going to steal it from you and use it in a
Sure,
few other places because this was brilliant.
sure.
And the second thing that comes to mind is the fact that uh, you started in a particular frame as a leader, and over a period of time, as you rightly said, you realize that it's not needed. You can allow people to make mistakes until the mistakes are fatal. Let them take risks and move forward. And then you also touched upon how founders can be too close to their vision and
Yeah,
not realize that they may be heading towards a bus that's coming their way. Somebody
yeah,
else can tell. Uh, which is probably the last question before I ask you to share some couplet if you remember. But the last question that I have is, a lot of people today are in a corporate job and they are on the fence whether they should jump into the startup side of things or stay with corporate. And I'll tell you what their apprehensions are. You come on social media, I'm mostly on LinkedIn, and you see that it seems that startups are super successful. There is no issue at all. Everything is
Yeah.
hunky dory. It looks
Yes.
like startup is the new Facebook of the world, where everything is positive, right?
Yes.
And then when they start thinking about it, at some point, I think the realization hits them that they will not get a message from the bank saying that your salary has been credited on first of every month,
Yes.
which probably pushes them to stay away. And then there is a lot of logical conversation that, okay, this much financial buffer you should have and all those things. But in essence, if someone's on that particular fence, should I go towards startup, or should I stay with corporate? What would be your advice? uh, why or how can someone decide that, okay, startup is the way I should go forward with?
I think, as I said, I have gone through that emotional churn and the journey myself, right? So let me share. It starts with a lot of conflict in the first place, right? Should I or should I not, right? So you have to decide which is right thing for you, because what worked for me will not work for Pravasi. What worked for Pravasi will not work for Satish,
Yeah.
right? Uh, I kind of Rahim. I will quote one Rahim's couplet here, which is "Ab Rahiman muskil bhai gaadhe do kam." Rahim says it's very difficult now because both the work are difficult, both the decisions are difficult. गाढ़े दो काम, सच बोले तो जग नहीं, झूठ बोले तो राम. If if I tell truth, then perhaps people will not like me. But if I tell no truth, then the God will not like me, or He will not
Yeah.
accept me. So it's like you have to decide whom are you selling that dream to. If you are selling it to yourself, then be ready for really a big journey, which is not easy. Ready to commit yourself at least 3 to 4 years, 5 years. If you are lucky, 3 years. Otherwise, 5 years is normal. Right? You can't suddenly become Mr. Mark Zuckerberg or Mr. Make My Trip CEO. So it's not easy because people don't see the struggle behind it.
Yeah.
They only see the success out of it. All right. Today, if you and me are sitting here, perhaps the youngsters will not even relate to that. Did we do our PhD at the age of 57? Did I do my MBA at the age of 50? Did I do my engineering at the age of 21? But that learning and that passion to continue to learn was not easy. All
Yeah.
right. So I think it is your first is your decision, and you should own that decision instead of pushing it to somebody else. Number one. Number two, and the decision is split between the two: emotional journey as well as ultimately your work journey. Emotional journey, as I talked about, that are you emotionally ready to leave that designation of the chair and drive the person in you? It means you will end up doing everything,
Yeah.
right? No more secretaries to go after, no more people to demand and command, right? You are supposed to do this. That's one emotional journey. It's not easy. The love for salary coming on first is extremely big.
Yeah.
So you must know that I'm okay to leave that behind. I'm okay to leave that behind. And second is the work journey. As we said during this conversation, here you have to do everything, right? So there is no excuse to go after two, right? In our normal corporate, perhaps we would say, hey, finance has not approved it. What can I do? Right?
Yes.
Or yeah, it's very normal, right? Or tech has not delivered, so how can I go to the market, right? Uh, Here, whom do you complain to? There is nobody else, right? You
True.
are accountable to yourself. In fact, everybody else is looking towards you. So I think that's a journey, but it's extremely fulfilling if you decide to, and if you decide to stay on course. Right. Recently, I had an opportunity to meet Usain Bolt, uh, the great legend, right? And in the audience, we asked this question to him: that what made you successful? What made you break your own records? Right? If you set your own record and there is nobody beyond you, then you become complacent, right? So whom are you competing with? So he said, "Hey, I was my own competition." So you are running for making beat yourself, and that's difficult. The motivation is very different. Yeah.
Very well said, Satish. And I can't think of a better place to end this conversation than lessons from Hussein Bolt. But first of all, I would like to reiterate thanks a ton for taking our time. But more importantly, this conversation, I'm sure there's a lot that people can learn from it. But even for someone like me, this was a huge learning. Before I let you go, any couplet that comes to mind that you would like to share?
Rahiman Joner Uttam Pravritti, जो the people who are strong willed, right? Kakar Sakat Kusag. It means if you are, even if you are in a bad company, you can still stay calm and good. Rahiman Joner Uttam Prakriti, Kakar Sakat Kusang, uh, uh, चंदन विष व्यापत नहीं लिपटत रहे भुजंग. वो कहता है चंदन के पेड़ पे चारों तरफ सांप, जहरीले सांप लटके रहते हैं, बट चंदन फिर भी खुशबू ही देता है.
Yep.
Right. So it's so powerful. I just use it in so many times that, hey, if somebody said wrong to you, it doesn't matter. Why should you be affected? Right. So if we can stay on course as a startup, if you decide to take that journey, then yes, there will be people who will try to pull you down. There will be people who will not believe in you. But if so long you believe in yourself, keep going.
Awesome, Satish. And you started our conversation with everything has a purpose, and probably there is a larger plan somewhere. Uh, this couplet that you quoted is my mom's favorite. I
Oh,
grew up
wow.
hearing this.
Wow.
So the bhujang part of it always
Yes.
stayed with me for a very long time. So thank you for
Yes.
reminding me. But once again, Satish, thank you. It was lovely chatting with you. And as promised, I'll definitely find a way to meet you in person.
100%. Likewise, Pravasi, great meeting you. Great chatting with you.
Thanks, Atan. Take care. Bye bye.
See you, man. Bye bye. Bye.